right, I'm happy to be here on a Wednesday, what is it, the eve of Thanksgiving, and saying I'm thankful because guess what? I got the man in the house, Mr. Vince Carter. How you doing?
Doing wonderful, thank you. On this Thanksgiving Eve, looking forward and want to wish everybody early happy Thanksgiving. We prepared for them to be prepared to go out and eat a whole lot of food tomorrow. I'm trying not to do that, but those of you who are going to do it, go ahead and do it and enjoy it.
Well, I want to say thank you for because I know you've been busy and people. This is Youth Central Sports. This is something that we started up a while back, and we are going to be coming to you every Wednesday at 11 p.m. And we would definitely would love to get some feedback from you. Um, we're talking sports, something that we all love, and with Vince Carter, and we're now is a time to play a little bit of catch up, which means that you need to tell us what Vince Carter been doing now that he's no longer here in Central Florida.
Well, Vince Carter is now coaching boys high school basketball in Brentwood, Tennessee, and I'm also now working with special need kids. So I'm
Okay.
got a full plate. I'm excited about both opportunities, and I want to announce tonight, as of 3 games into the season, we're 3-0.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Now, um, how is your team looking? I mean, overall.
Overall, right now, at this early stages, we're looking pretty good. Got to fix some things. Always got to improve every day. But the first early 3 games, even though we won, we were able to get better each game. So right now we're very optimistic, but still working hard.
Yeah. I asked you earlier about how your team looking, overall, especially, compared to, let's just say last year and the year before. This is your third
Hmm.
year there, right? This is your
Right.
third
This
year.
is our third season. Last year was real good because we went to the state tournament. The first year was a train wreck, but it really prepared us for the second year, which was last year, and we think we're prepared for this year to move even go a little bit deep in the state level.
Oh, okay. Now, Vince Carter, what are you gonna do for Thanksgiving? What are you gonna do? Because here in Central Florida, I know that you have family and friends, and so what does Vince
Right.
Carter do in Tennessee for Thanksgiving?
Watch football and basketball and rest.
Oh, okay.
But we
Before
actually
we get
play
in,
on Friday.
yeah.
We
Now
play on
before,
Friday and Saturday, so
oh, okay. Now before we get into this wonderful world of sports, why don't you quickly tell us about your new endeavor with special needs kids?
probably one of the most rewarding things I have done. But and while it's one of the most challenging things, and it is, I think I mentioned to you, I don't know who's getting the most out of this, the kids or me. One of the things they're teaching me for sure is patience. I think I'm much more patient than before, but at the end of each day, I feel very rewarded and privileged to have the opportunity to work with them because I went in with one frame of mind, obviously wanting to help and make a difference, but I come away feeling that they have somehow imparted something to me, and I find that refreshing and challenging. And thank God I've had some experience, so this transition was not as difficult. But it's really rewarding. But it teaches a lot of patience.
Wow, wow, wow. You, Vince, I think at some point in time I think you probably should write a book. No, seriously, seriously, you probably because there's so many different levels and places of your life that I think that because whether people know it or not, Vince is a motivational speaker as well. And you probably can write a book on sales too, on selling, right?
I think I could.
But one of
I've
the
done a
other
little
things,
selling.
yeah, yeah, one of the other things too is that what I've always admired about you was your passion that you do have for kids, and one of the reasons why you do what you do. But I've always wanted to ask you this question, and that is, where do you think that you get the spirit of just being able to, and I just say it like it is, because a lot of people don't have that. Where do you think you get the spirit of being able to just to deal with the knuckleheads? And you know what I mean by that, because and
Oh
for
yeah.
hold on for people that don't know, because Vince does a lot of mentoring, and so there's a lot of us who deal with kids, and we mentor kids, but it's a different type of avenue now. Probably, I would
Mhm.
think, probably since the 80s, since you notice the change in the disrespect and the attitudes, and they talk back. That they no longer disrespect. I mean, they no longer respect the elders and so on. And now it's truly has gotten worse. But you don't mind dealing with the worst of the kids, and so I'm asking you, where do you think you get that from?
I actually think I get it from my mom. First of all, I think it's a blessing. It's a gift from God, if anything. I mean, if I want to call it, because I really think God has put that in my heart. But I watched my mother, who taught for a number of years, and her passion and compassion for kids and wanting them to learn. And I also think sport has played a huge part in that, because I took what I saw my mom do in an educational environment and I moved it to a sports environment. And I'm convinced that you, in dealing with young men, I use the sports format to deal with them one on one. And I also believe in giving them, meeting them where they are, not trying to bring anything more than what the reality is. I meet them right where they are, and that's where we start from. I don't ask them to conform. I don't ask them to change. I ask them to meet me where you are. And then from there, we build trust. We attempt to build trust. And then I show that I'm truly interested. I want to see it. I want them to have the best opportunity to be the best that they can be if they want to. Now, if they
Well,
choose that they don't want to do that, I'm going to open the door, provide the avenue. They got to go through it.
Well, one of the main reasons of Youth Central Sports is what you're talking about, because we always want to
Mm-hmm.
raise the idea and understanding of what sports can really do in so many
Right.
facets of our lives. Not only the kids
Mm-hmm.
can we can change their lives, but they also change our lives and our experience, and we all learn
Absolutely.
from each other. But one of the main reasons that
Mm-hmm.
we have Youth Central Sports is because of the mentoring and part of what you do, and we like to bring that to the forefront, because every day, Vince, I can't tell you, in the last week, and I run into it all the time. I had the conversation today, and when I when I say this, you're gonna understand what I'm saying. I have a friend who sister is raising her grandson, and the son is
Mm-hmm.
18 years old, just turned 18, and she asked me if I knew where he can find a mentor. And I looked at her and I said, "You asking for a mentor, and he just turned 18 years old." Okay. And so as I began to talk with her, I started to understand the problem, because the grandmother has allowed this young man, raising him without any rules. Uh, there's no
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, and so on and so forth. So now that he's beginning to become a little out of control, my point that I was trying to say to her was, at the age of 18, he's now uh, thinking that he's a man, now that he's reached that age, and so you pretty much know the story of where I was trying to go with it. And I wasn't trying to say that this young man can't be helped, but I was trying to emphasize the fact that the grandmother needed as much help as the young man, because that's where it's all going to start. Because she said that's why the young man is with the grandmother and not the mother, because the mother have rules. The So he wants to be with the grandmother because the grandmother
She
doesn't
doesn't
have
have it.
rules, And so, again, so you already know the story. She's talking about, trying to find a mentor for this young man at 18 years old. And I don't know him, but he's probably a knucklehead in the sense that because
Oh,
at the age of 18, you know what's going on. I mean, you know what's going
yeah.
on.
And she's gonna have and she's obviously having a difficult time relating to him. And he's not listening. He's 18. He's thinking I'm grown, and her line of thinking is so different from his, obviously, and he wants to move in a different direction. And that's the problem that you have. Charles, you remember when we had Midnight Basketball was operating there in the area, and I was involved in Midnight Basketball. And we had a program called Man Up, and Man Up was designed to deal with first-time juvenile offenders and young men in the circumstances in which you're describing now. And the idea was to give them some boundaries, give them some unification of thought process, decision making, why you want to do these things. That's sorely missed. I'm so sorry that we were unable to continue, because I still get phone calls and emails about some of the success stories that we had. But people are saying how useful it was, because this grandmother now is going to have a tough time trying to find somebody who wants to deal with an 18-year-old who probably is unruly, has set his mind on doing some other things, and it's going to be hard to change it, but it can change. But
and,
you
and
got to want to change. Somebody's going to have to want to invest in that.
right, and that was one of the things that I was trying to say to her was that I'm not saying that he can't be helped, but that whole thing of 18 years old and that whole thing of now I'm a grown man but and what I was trying to emphasize to her was that to help her sister understand that she needs help as well to better understand her role in the things that she should be doing, and how also to have a different mindset in order
Mm-hmm.
to help this. In order to help her grandson.
Yeah, well, it's some education is going to have to be had on both parts. I mean, they're both going to have to be educated, and they're going to have to have to have some tough love, because they're going to be asked to do some things they probably don't want to do. That's
All
going to be
right,
most beneficial for themselves and the young man.
right.
And so and I tell you, Charles, you know this. You have to invest. You have to invest in this change. If you want these young people to change, you got to. They got to believe in you, and they got to know that you really want to help them. And so that means that becomes an investment. That becomes a really a full-time job, because once you get their confidence, then and if you're sincere about what you're saying, they may resist you, but they appreciate you. And the more consistent you are, the more they appreciate you, then the more we're starting to make progress in trying to help them help themselves.
Absolutely right. Now, I want to ask you. I had a long list over the period of the last week or so of things that I really wanted to talk about, and it's almost like, where do you want to start from? There's injuries in the NBA. There's injuries in the NFL. Um, they've what's the coach name? I should have wrote his name down. Chip Kelly.
It's
It looked like he
chip,
may
chip
be going to
kelly.
UCLA, or he may be coming to Florida. I'm thinking that he
Right.
probably going to go to UCLA because he's used to being out there on the West Coast. I'm just
Mhm.
guessing. I have no
But
idea.
money may change that.
Huh?
Gators money may change that.
But you know who I thought they was going to go after?
Who's that?
I, that was UCF coach Frost.
Frost has been mentioned for a couple of other jobs, and he said he's not going anywhere. And of course, you know what that means. That means it's a possibility that he might.
But it's funny because I heard on the news today. I mean, think about this, and
Mm-hmm.
it sounds funny, but he just got a raise, and you know what his raise? You know what his pay is now? six hundred
Uh,
thousand dollars.
ooh, yeah.
We're laughing.
Yes,
He got a
yeah,
raise
because
and he's
assistant coach,
making $600,000, Vince.
yeah, 'cause some assistant coaches making 600,000. So UCF, if they want to keep him, they're going to have to raise that. They're going to come up from that. Now, he's proven himself this year, and I think it does warrant them looking at a more substantial increase for a longer period of time. But if they don't address that, I mean, because he can get 1.2 and 3 and 4 million, some of these other schools, like a Florida or UCLA. So UCF want to keep him, or they better enjoy this year and just wave him bye-bye. But I wouldn't do that if I were them.
But what's funny is what has been in the news for the past maybe 3 or 4 weeks here in the Central Florida area for people that don't know, and that is he has actually had to go out and ask students. Now think about this. Here he is. He's proven himself. He's proving himself as a coach.
Right.
Now he has to go and beg the students to come out to the game. Now imagine him being at UCF and he's doing what he's doing. He would never have to do that at some of the, I mean, at the major colleges, let alone, the money that he would
Never.
make. So
No.
here, I mean, here he is, you're trying to build up this school in the sense of football. You got to beg the people to show up to the games. And plus he's only making $600,000 a year. So I don't know how that's going to work.
Well, one of the things that come into play though is his commitment to what he's doing. Because look at it this way: if he's able to get this program, obviously this year the way they're playing, and they're going to look like they're going to have a bowl opportunity, and he's going to be able to use that as recruiting for the next year. So he's going to change the number. He's going to be able to change his skill level players coming in, be able to recruit and go out and get some better players, which is going to enhance his year next year. Now, the student body is saying, "Boy, we had a great year." They're going to want to come. They're going to start coming back to see more of what's going on. He's putting himself in a position to ask for a raise, or they put a position where they want to give him a raise. Now, your basketball coach is doing the same thing. He's out in the community telling people, "Hey, you need to come see us. You need to come check us out." He's starting to put butts in the seats. He's doing the same formula and putting a winning product on the floor. The key to it, you got to win. All you got to be. I think about to win, people that are appreciative team, but ultimately you got to win.
Well, as you know, that's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, because you keep hearing these stories here and there, and basically heard that what's the coach from Texas A&M? The brother, what's his name? That coach Johnny Manziel.
Manziel,
Right.
yeah, I can't think of his name, but
The rumor is out that he's going to be fired after Saturday, and I think
that would not
he's
surprise me.
well. The thing is that they're talking about this crazy, but the reason why they're talking about it's crazy is because everything is measured against Alabama. So who is successful against Alabama? So here he is.
That's
I think he's like 56-25 as a coach. He's like 56-20, somewhere in those numbers, somewhere like that. You know,
mm-hmm.
Because they were talking about how they got rid of the coach from Georgia,
Yeah.
who's now in Miami, because
Mm-hmm.
you measured against Alabama. So
I don't. I don't know how you could do that, but I do understand that the team has to be competitive. Uh, they they go in and say, "Well, you got to beat Alabama." Well, let's be realistic about that. That's probably not going to happen. But sometimes these guys are being moved because they've lost control of their team. The team is not playing hard. Yeah, you're going up against Alabama, but you're laying down, and Alabama's beating your brains in. ADs are looking at that, saying that's not good for our brand. We can't build on this. We're playing top quality teams. We want to try to get top quality players. So we've got to have a coach that's in charge and motivating these kids to playing hard. They don't want to accept it, but they realize I don't have the kind of program right now that's going to be able to compete. But I must be able to I must compete in whatever game I'm playing in. And 56 and 25 record. To me now, I mean, I'm not AD, but to me that's a rather impressive record. However, one of the things that come into play is who did you win? Who did you win against? Did you beat your rival team? What did you do in your conference? This thing gets very complicated. While those win-loss numbers sound good, it's those criteria there. Did you lose against your rival? What you do in your conference play? What you do in your non-conference play? that kind of sometimes comes back, puts you in a situation where they say, well, that wasn't good enough, so we're going to go a different direction.
Well, I have the perfect example of what you're talking about, Vince. Guess what? This past weekend, for those that don't know, that's not here in the area, they just had the Florida Classic, and the FAMU and Bethune-Cookman University. Now, you want to talk about rivalries? That's probably
Big time.
one of the biggest rivalries in the history of sports and football. Well, whether you know it or not, Vince, Cookman
I
has
know.
won 7 straight years. Cookman has beat
I
Fam
didn't know it
seven
was
straight
7. I
years.
knew it was 5. I knew they had won 5 straight years.
No, 7.
And
But
7.
guess, guess what? Fam coach got fired yesterday.
But I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. Now, was he there for
I
all
mean, I'm
7
not
games?
laughing from the standpoint of him getting fired, but I'm laughing from the standpoint of what you were just talking about.
Oh, yeah,
You
that's
know,
it. Was he there all 7 years?
right? Yeah. Seven.
Yeah, he was there for all 7 years.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, that explains it because they're saying, listen, guys, because I remember back, it used to be a flip flop. Fam win one year, Cookman win one year, then maybe somebody would go ahead 2-1, but then they kind of level it off. But as I can remember, at least 5 years, Cookman has come every day
Right.
and on that game because that's a huge rivalry game. And you lose a 3, 4, 5, 6, out of 7. You listen, man. We appreciate you, but you got to go. You got to go. That's unfortunate. I'm with you. I'm not laughing at him, and
Right.
I feel sorry for his family. But the reality of the matter is, when you go in coaching, you know these things.
Oh
You
yeah.
know that because
Well, well, I
you
mean,
say people come to the class, if they were 0-15, both teams, and they get on that field, FAMU against BCU, that is like they're both undefeated. It is that and you competing.
right.
So
It,
uh,
yeah.
it's unfortunate.
Right. Well, I mean, as that stadium is full, and
Yes.
for a lot of people, it's 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 really about the halftime entertainment. You- I mean,
And
I,
let me
I mean, for the
tell you what I'm
people,
hearing now.
right?
But let me tell you what I'm hearing now. I followed a little bit of this in the last couple of years, online and stuff, because I'm up here near Tennessee State and had a chance to see them play and the band perform. The word in the street now is Cookman, doing Cookman University #1 band in the land. So you got a double rivalry on the field now. You got the football team and the band, and Cookman's winning both of those, so according to popular conversation. And I saw both halftime shows this year,
Okay.
and Cookman look pretty good. They
Oh yeah.
strong, they sound good, they move well. I think to a certain extent, I don't want to criticize either one because I'm fans of both of them. But there's been a change in the marching 100, and I'm sure it was necessary for whatever reason they deemed it so. But they're not as explosive as they used to be,
Wow.
and also they've set a standard that a lot of bands, these universities now are being able to somewhat match what they do. Because if you can remember, Cookman had a real small group. I
Right.
saw them on
Right.
the field. They went from one end zone to another. 100 style. That's what I come from when I grew up. The
Right.
100 went from end zone to end zone.
Right.
And not, and the sound that Cookman has, they always had good sound. But the halftime show was very impressive. And because one of the things that, being a longtime FAMU fan, I find their halftime something rather rudimentary. You can pretty much see the same thing. Um, and I think that's people kind of looking for something a little different from their dance routine. Now, their sound also is outstanding. They have an outstanding sound. The rhythm section, which I'm a huge fan of, I saw them do a drum section showdown. See, we don't hear enough of that. We don't get to see the 100 do the 100. And I
Right.
know it's a halftime entertainment, but we want to see some precision marching. We want to see a little booty shaking and some good music. But I want to see some 100 do the 100.
I, and actually, you know what, Vince? I think that would be a really good show to even talk about that because a lot of people wouldn't understand what we meant by when it comes to sports and the halftime entertainment because
Mm-hmm.
right. I mean, because if I mean, we could talk about sports, but then to understand what it means to have the halftime entertainment and what that really means, it's like for those that don't know, it's a whole different world. When people are
Oh,
coming, yeah, people are coming
oh.
to see the halftime show.
Listen, I was down in Atlanta and I watched the Gremlin was down in there, and they were kept. And I watched Tennessee State here, and but it's all exhilarating because they're all kind of similar in how that excitement that they put on the field. And sometimes they overshadow the football game because people are so anticipating what the band's going to do. That adds another excitement to the game and the day of the game for me. And if the game is boring, people, I can remember going to the Classic when no one cared about the football game; they just wanted to see the band. And I went all the way to Miami one year just to see the band perform in the Orange Bowl, and they said, "Well, who won the game?" I said, "You know what? I don't know. Wasn't paying attention." So it's
Wow.
a whole different atmosphere that it adds that many people. And to your point, if you've never experienced it, it's a great experience, but it's a different experience.
Right. Well, and you know what? That would be a good show in the sense of talking about sports, what it means. Like, let's just say you go into a big rivalry game, like the game
Mm-hmm.
coming up, like Auburn and Alabama. I mean, the Iron Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and what that
Mm-hmm.
mean, and what does halftime mean for Auburn and Alabama, but what does
Alabama, yeah.
halftime mean for Cookman and
And
Fam?
FAMU.
Right.
I think it's different. I think it's different. And you know who would be great to have on that
What's that?
would be the Bethune-Cookman University, uh, uh, our good friend, your
Ken.
coworker, Ken Moore.
Oh, Ken. Yeah, yeah,
Ken
yeah,
Moore.
yeah. Ken.
Have
Yeah,
Ken
yeah.
Moore because he can. I heard him. I heard their presentation during the halftime, and there was some going back and forth at each other,
Right.
and which to me added a flair to the game. And I heard, and then knowing Ken and hearing his voice kind of made it even more personal for me. It was fun. It was
Well,
exciting. I mean, just
but
to hear.
but but that's what I mean. I mean, as we talk about sports, I mean, there's so many different levels of what that is to so many different people. But when you
Hmm.
talk about sports on any level, but look at what a FAMU game is and a Cookman game, and look at an Alabama game, or even a Florida Georgia game. Okay,
Hmm.
Florida Georgia. Okay,
Right.
same in the sense of Auburn and Alabama. Same. But so,
Excuse me.
but the show. I mean, I think the Florida Georgia or the Auburn Alabama is more about the football.
Hmm.
E- Even though the players do want that, I mean, want to have the bragging rights, but
Hmm.
there's more at stake when it comes to the bragging rights because you can lose the game but still win the battle of the bands, or
You can
you
really
can lose
battle.
the battle of the bands and still win the football game.
I do think
Because
though sometimes.
there's always that but. Well, we beat y'all 56 to da-da-da. Yeah, but your halftime show da-da-da, da-da-da. So
Yeah, because you got the flag girls. Our dancers were better than yours. My flag guys were better. Girls were better than yours. So and then again, to the college experience to me, it adds so much. And it's that competitive nature that you're working with that really is a part of our whole life of dealing with expectations, successes and failure, and understanding how sport plays in developing those things. And you say, well, what does band have to do to that? Band has the same impact.
Right.
as sport, if you will.
Well, I mean, the reality of it is you can go to school and get a free education, and
On a
then
band.
what people don't understand is that the demand, and because when I hear Ken talk about what they have to go through, or when you
Hmm.
understand
Hmm.
how stressful it can be and how demanding it can be when it comes to just being in the band,
Right.
it appears that it's just as much stress as being in the band as it is being on the
Well,
football team.
well, see, I can tell you back from going back to my high school days when and some of the guys that I went to school with that graduated before me, because I was a band guy as well. I was a percussionist. I played football, basketball, and was in the band. And one of my aspirations was to be in the marching 100 because I had two of my classmates who were upperclassmen who went on to play in the band. And when they came back, and this is back now, this is going back when Dr. Foster was alive. Boy, let me tell you, what they were going through was what I was going through in football practice. And I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Because it was written that the football team was on the field at 6 a.m. The band was on the field at 4 a.m.
Wow.
And so when the band was coming in, football team was coming out. They were both doing tour days. And one of my friends said it was nothing for them to come in your room and knock on the door at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, take me through this particular song and your part in this song. If you were a percussionist, let me hear your progression in this song. Wake you up out in the middle of the night. And they practiced hard, which obviously made them a great band from a performance standpoint. But what many people fail to realize, they were great performers, musicians. They were great musicians. And that's was the key thing for them for years. But so are now the Cookmans of the world, great musicians. Time spent on the field preparing and execution. Something I'm also from an organizational standpoint that I find very exciting, that you can get 200 plus people to think alike, act alike, feel alike, be one heartbeat. That in itself is remarkable,
Well,
and to be precision.
right. And see, just to hear what you're saying, again, I would definitely would like to invite Ken, and we can talk because
Hmm.
as we sit and we talk about sports and all the different things that comes with sports, because again, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you as we talk about sports, and we talking about Cookman, we talk about a Florida Georgia game, and there's so
Hmm.
much difference. I don't think the rivalry is any bigger than the other. I mean, when people
Yeah.
around the country may not know about FAM, they may not know about Cookman, but we know that rivalry is just as big a rivalry in the history of what rivalry is supposed to be.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Without a
I
doubt.
mean, I can tell you the same thing coming from Jacksonville, that that there's no bigger rivalry than Reigns and Reebok. It's the same
Being
thing.
Reebok.
It
Yeah, absolutely.
and Reigns and Reebok. That's just as big as a rivalry as there is in any type of sporting event. Period. And when you come to the halftime show, it's still the same thing, because it's the
Same thing.
same thing. They still get out there, and you can lose the game, but hey, we won the halftime show, and that whole thing is a show. It's a game, but at halftime, it's a show. The sideline, it's a show. The What is that
Mm.
they call? What's it? The 14 karat.
Yeah,
For,
14
yeah,
karat gold dance.
yeah. 14 karat, and then you can go to the game and may not ever even see the game.
Yeah. I've done that thing before. So right there in Orlando, I've gone peek my head in just to see the halftime show, and then I leave.
Right.
Because to
Well,
me at that
actually,
time,
well,
football was
actually,
football.
actually, what happens is at a lot of times after the halftime show is over, all of a sudden now people are going to buy drinks and going in the
Yeah,
back of the session stands, and all of a sudden where the stadium was full, you'd be like, well, where all the people go?
there you go.
At the halftime. You
That's
know,
that was a compelling thing about and it still is as it relates to that rivalry, is that nobody left there at halftime concessions. Because I worked the concessions one year at the Classic, and at halftime itself, nobody moved.
right?
You got bombarded at the start of the third quarter. Now, whatever happened on the football field at the start of the third quarter, you missed it because you were down in concessions because nobody
Right,
moved during halftime, and so
right,
that's a compelling. That shows you how compelling it was, how entertaining it was, how much of a rivalry it was that people wanted to see it, so that they could talk about it, and everybody wanted to judge it and say, well, my school was better than yours, or this, that, and the other. That just adds to the game on the field.
right.
That adds to the game on the field,
Yeah,
and that
because
just adds to school.
I came very close to going to Southern University once I left Dayton.
Mm,
I came very close to going to, and I thought Southern was cool because they had this this round stadium, well, gym.
hmm
You know,
hmm
it was round, and it was, when you like 20 years old and you walk in and you see this stadium that looks like, it's just like, wow. It's just so for an example, like which is the same thing, Southern and Grambling, big,
Oh, absolutely, that's big.
big rivalry,
Yeah.
but the thing
hmm
is that if you go talk to somebody again, Alabama, and you go talk to somebody in Florida, and you talk about a halftime show, they probably be like, huh? What?
Yeah.
They mostly want to talk about the football game, where it's a combination of both, is what we were
Yeah.
saying.
And, and
But
and the culture of the two are so different. And I think, I'm not saying, and I'm challenged with this now as I watch some up in the Tennessee area. I have been to a college football game. I've been to Tennessee State, and I've been to had the opportunity to peek in on a Vanderbilt game. It's two great atmospheres. They're just different.
hmm
It's a cultural difference but I'm not saying it's not equally as entertaining, because the people around Vanderbilt, I mean, they're having a blast, they're having a ball. Um, but it's very similar to what I've seen in the family Cookman classic. It's the same type of atmosphere. It's just a different cultural experience because of the emphasis being in the classic is equal to football and band, where in many of these others it's just a football.
right.
The band is just that. They'll just have halftime entertainment, where sometime in that game, the halftime is just as important as the game itself.
Right. Yeah, right. Question for you. I think the Auburn Alabama game is being played in Alabama this year. I mean, is it played at
Uh,
Alabama or Auburn?
I think it's in Alabama, because
Right.
there are a
Yeah.
lot
I
of
think
people talking
now.
about it again.
I'm
I
going to
think it's
ask you.
going down.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you now. Um, if the game, I'm pretty sure it's in Alabama. If I'm saying if that game was in Auburn, Alabama would lose that game. That's just my prediction. So I'm asking you, who you think going to win this game, Alabama or Auburn at the Iron Bowl?
I tell you, it's hard. Alabama is such a machine, and they just execute at such a high level. They're so consistent in what they do. I personally got to go with Alabama. I have a great deal of respect for Auburn, but when you just look at the Alabama machine, it's hard to go against those guys. And they've had some time off. They've had a chance to regroup. They got slighted a couple of weeks ago and took it to number two. I know that upset Saban and his team. They're back at number one. They're back focused. It's going to be. I'm saying Alabama.
I would say Auburn if they was playing in Auburn, but I think they're playing in Alabama.
I think they're in Tuscaloosa.
Right. So
Yeah.
my next question is, Miami has been getting a lot of beef because from what the talk is that they've only played like, I think, like, let's just say Notre Dame, in the sense of a good team. Other
Mhm.
than Notre Dame, they're saying they really haven't played anybody. They struggled against Virginia.
They played Florida State. Of course, Florida
So
State didn't have
I
anything
think
going.
they're ranked like number three. What
Mhm.
have you had a chance to see them play? Miami.
A little bit, a little bit of Miami. But Charles, I look at numbers, and I'm of the opinion. Listen, uh, you put a schedule together. Yes, you got some RPI ratings, and you're based on the quality of the teams that you play. I understand all that, but winning is winning. If you now, the truth will be in the pudding when they get a little bit further down the line. You can't dismiss them for the games that they're winning. So, I mean, they're the real deal for right now. I mean, it's going to get tougher down the road, which I'm sure they recognize. But for right now, you got to respect them for what they're doing. They're winning.
Well, I don't. Honestly, Vince, the whole NCAA football, I have very little respect for it, just simply because it is so motivated by money.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the only sport that I think that has been totally unfair from the very beginning, and I think it's totally unfair to this very day. There's a problem when even through the history of NCAA football that what I call paper champions, because it's all based on people opinion and their votes and all this other stuff, and really the games are not really decided on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Why there isn't really a true college playoff, I'm not real sure. I mean, out of all the teams in the country, you ended up with four, in what they call a playoff system. Throughout this whole time, it's just been what I call paper champions, because you've been around sports long enough to understand what I'm about to say. The 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 game is won on the field. The game has to be played on the field. And so as the numbers look, and you're able to say how people look on paper, but once the game starts, you never know what that quarterback went out and did the night before. You don't know what wide receiver girlfriend broke up with him the night before. All those things, and when the moon lines up and everything is right, and when stuff comes into play, that one magical game and all the stuff, and this one time, and I'm talking about the whole gamut of what it would take, because looking at whether or not it's like March Madness, and you see all these what as John Thompson would say, you have to have a little bit of luck involved, because
Sure.
the
Oh,
teams,
yeah.
there's luck here, a ball
Yeah.
bounced this way, a shot didn't go in, a missed free throw, and so on and so forth. But all these things should be decided on the field, not
Well,
by somebody sitting around. Well, I gotta, it's just, to me, I have very little, respect for it, in the sense of how they crown their champion. It just,
well, they've come
it
up with probably a which has worked for them the last 3 years, I think. And even they recognize it's not the best system, but it's the best they've got for right now. It is very difficult to come up with that pure champion. So that's why they came up with, I think
well,
it was
Vince,
yes,
let me let me ask you something,
because you got so
okay?
many teams involved.
No, no,
You
no,
you
no,
got
no, 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 no. Let me ask you something.
mhm,
If they had, let's and I'm just saying this. So let's just say they they throw in 12 teams, all right?
okay, hmm
And they're always worried about their money in the bowl games, right?
right.
Okay. So what if at the beginning of the season, the first games of the season, some of those bowl games are at the beginning of the season? So you can have some of the big college, like you can play. Let's just say, I give you an example. Let's just say Alabama plays Ohio State,
hmm
and what they call whatever bowl they want to call it at the beginning of the season. So you now have these, what I'm
hmm
saying, a big, no. What I'm saying is that you have a big game where they're going to make their money with this bowl, and you put it's the first game of the season. So you have, let's just say, 5 or 6 big schools playing each other to make up for those bowl games that they're missing at the end of the season, that they're trying not to lose. Then,
Well,
oh,
that's not
go
going to
ahead.
work. I'm going to tell you, from a revenue standpoint, some of these schools that get a chance to participate, that's probably their biggest revenue stream for that year. They go through the season to play, to be able to get to a bowl, to get that payoff at the bowl game.
No, no,
Plus,
no, no, no,
because
no,
you
no, no,
can't.
no. I'm not
But,
talking
but
about,
what I'm
no.
saying,
I'm
but you
not
got to
talking
do
about,
that because if
no,
you play the bowl at the beginning of the year, we don't know if we have the best team for the bowl yet.
no. This is only so they can get their money.
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to do that because we don't know if we have the best team to play in the bowl. Just putting Alabama and
No,
Ohio
no,
State
no, no,
together,
no,
they're not going to want to play there.
no. You now you can't tell me that the people won't come and say, let's just say we have Ohio State and Alabama. Michigan plays, blah blah blah. I mean,
But what I'm saying is schools don't want to play that early. They don't want to play each other then. Like they're gonna need if because how would you base that? You just randomly picking schools. Somebody's gonna be upset. Why couldn't I
no.
play? What's
But
the criteria? Because you got to have criteria. You can't have a bowl game for everybody.
no. It's not a bowl game, Vince.
But
It's not a bowl
how do
game.
you? Okay,
It's
but nobody is going to want to play one of their biggest rivals first game of the season.
well,
Nobody's going to want to do
well. I'm not talking about necessarily a big rivalry. I'm just talking about big schools to make up the
it. Nah,
the money
nah.
that they know that they're gonna
You can't make
make.
that money. You can't make that money then. It's got to be in the bowl
No,
setting.
no. You
All around the country to play. You're
Yes,
not. You
they
don't make
will.
money on
You can't tell me at the beginning of the season if you had
now.
10 different teams where these big schools are gonna play each other that they don't ever really get a chance to play each other. I mean, like let's just say UCLA will play Miami. What's the odds of that those two teams ever playing? Right?
Same
So I'm
odds
just
would
using
be if
that
they
as an
showed up.
example.
I
So
mean, yeah, the same odds that they would show up at the end of the season in a bowl game together.
But no. But no.
But
But
you
what
get what
I'm
I'm saying?
saying is,
The emphasis
what
of the
no.
bowl game
What I'm
is the
trying to
same
set
thing
up
you're talking
is the scenario of having 12 teams in the playoff, where now the bowl dynamics have changed, where there's not so many at the end of the season. You can
about.
use
That,
those for the
I
playoffs.
don't.
Is what I'm trying to say.
You're gonna have so much opposition to that. I mean, people are gonna come up with reasons you probably never even thought about as to why that won't work.
They
Because
gonna
it's
make their
taking
money though. That's all they
yeah, but
care
see that
about.
see when you say that, and I do think that's true. You know, they don't have time to sell it up. They don't have time to set it up. They don't have time to pick those big rivalry games and put that thing in a neutral location where they control all of the concessions and all of the hotels, all of the parking, and stuff where they can really get that big buzz. That's why you hold it at the end. Number two, the schools going to reject that. The NCAA will say, "Oh no, that's too early." Because if I get all of that up front, I'm not going to have anything on the backside.
No,
Yes.
no, that's
Oh
not true.
no.
Come on now. I mean, when they go through the season, and then at the end of the season, they have 12 teams in the playoffs. They could be 10 or 12. I'm just picking a number. I'm just picking a number. So let's just say it's
They
10 or
can't do
12
that.
versus some four. I mean,
They've been
come
working
on,
on
come
this
on,
for 20 years, and they
huh?
can't come up with what you're talking about. They've been working
Well,
on this
I
for
mean,
20 years, and they can't come
because
up. It's not that
they don't
simple.
care.
I mean,
They don't
baby
care.
steps.
All they care about is their money. They gonna
I
make their
thought
money.
about
They
that.
don't care about no championship. They. I
Yeah,
mean, they
yeah.
don't care.
The school does because the school get that extra check.
I mean, the school
That
gonna
big,
get the money.
that big money.
The bowl's gonna get their money.
It's-
Everybody gonna get paid, but you can have much more respect for the championship game versus them throwing
Okay,
just base. I mean,
you're talking
because
about
college football is
okay.
just like you can't lose a game, which is crazy. It's
Well,
like
not given the payday, because you figure what you're saying. You're suggesting we get these two teams to play in September. When if I had them play in January, where more people are able to come, and because they
no,
can't,
no, 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 no,
no,
no, no,
yeah,
no.
Charles,
See,
that's how that money
no,
come into play now.
no, no,
That's
no.
how that money come to figure. These people not going to travel in September just for Miami. For example, Miami, UCLA, they got to travel. Somebody got to travel all the way over just to see that,
Right.
and it's September. That's not going to happen. But if that is in January, people plan their Christmas vacations and all that kind of stuff. That's how that people make their money because everybody's going to come to see my favorite team play in LA. Well, if you go to LA going to economics
No,
for
no, but
it goes
But you're kick, but it's the same thing because at the
no.
end of the season, because now check it out. at the beginning of the season, everybody is so excited about the start of the season. And if they know ahead of time that that game, let's just say that UCLA game is going to be played in Florida, then guess
Hmm.
what? And I'm just using that as an example. But
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
can't tell me that if they know a year ahead of time that this game is going to be played and this is the kickoff of the foot, you can't tell me that they won't show up. Are you kidding me?
I don't think you get the same impact. Now, if that becomes the norm, then that's different. If you're talking about a one-time hit to try to do, that's not. I don't think it would be as impactful. But if that is the norm across the college football spectrum, then you've got some possibility, but you're gonna have an awful lot of opposition because people are not prepared. Oh, I don't want to do it
Oh
that
no,
early.
no, you know.
It's
But
not
see, this is
fair.
no, because this is something that they will know a year in advance.
Won't,
I mean,
it still won't
I
matter.
mean, the
They're gonna
schedule is
fail.
going to come out a year in advance. So this is something that they're all going to be prepped for it and ready for.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but
Based on what I know about how finicky they are, they'd fight this all day long. They'd fight it.
well,
Even if it
I
makes sense
still
to them,
have
they wouldn't
no
let it.
I have no respect for the system. I mean, I just
I agree with you now. The system, and even the people who put the current system in place have admitted it's not the best system, but it's all that they have for the moment. And they're
it's the
still
best
trying to
system
work.
for them to make their money
But see, a lot of the schools are buying into this current system as well.
because they
They're
get their
saying,
money.
okay, that's happening because everybody gonna get paid.
Right.
Let's be honest now. Let's don't lose perspective on the fact that it's about making money. But the schools are saying, so it's let's take that subject to basketball. Yeah, you're picking up 68 teams or 72 or 64 somebody's got to get left out. How do you choose who goes in? So that has become a very tedious situation over the years, and they finally come with the working system, so to speak, of how that goes. Football is a little bit more difficult. Let's put it this way. I'm going to say this to your point. Football may be being a little bit more resistant. Now they swear they've come up with an idea, but I've heard people who even participate in the BCSA still not good. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if we're going to fix that. I just don't know how you fix it,
Now, I
and
mean,
I'm glad
we'll
I don't
see.
have to fix it.
You know
It's their
what's
job to fix
amazing is that Division II, Division III, NAIA, they all have playoff systems. Then all of a sudden, Division I can't come up with a system. Really, really,
Well,
really.
I think your point though, they're resistant because they are resistant to a. I'm going to say they're resistant to a solution that they don't control. Let's put it that way. Uh, they want it to be in their favor, which to their advantage, and that's why. And then you've got so many people fighting for equality, if you will, which I don't think you can have. You got your top teams, and so that's why you got these other guys playing in bowl games, so that you get your exposure, you get your reward, great season, and that you've gone 8-1 or 12-6, or I mean 12-2 or whatever. But your Alabamas and your Clemsons and Auburns and those kind of guys, they're better records. They play better competition. That's another way of separating who you play. I'm in a Division I school. I want to play you a top Division I team. I can play you, but who's it going? Is it going to help them? No. My RPI, when they look at my schedule strength, they'll say, "Boy, you went and played the top one." But when they look at yours and you played down, they say, "Why did you do that? All you did was pad your schedule because you didn't get anything out of it." Now, boy, you got problems. You got a deep problem because you're gonna get knocked out of the BC running all together. So they're a little cautious about competition. It is so confusing. I listened to them one day as they tried to explain the current system, and I think I'm a reasonably intelligent person. They lost me. I was like, just tell you you're gonna get 10 teams. Let's go on from there. So
Right.
but it is. I will go back to what you said originally. It's based on money.
Oh well, yeah.
There's
Well,
some
of
dollars
course.
involved, no question about that.
Um, I got a question for you. I'm gonna switch gears on you a little bit. I want to ask you a
Okay.
question about your Cowboys, and that
Yes.
is no. They had been in the news. Well, we won't talk about Jerry Jones right now,
Thank you.
but I don't know if you remember us having this conversation. I think it was maybe the first or the second game into the season. And I don't know if you remember us talking about this. And I talked about they looked like they quit. And you said this early, and we probably can fix that. The write up has been in that Philly game, they quit. And my point that I was trying to say, what I saw, and I don't forget what game that was, but it was either the first game or the second game of the season that they played, and they looked like they just didn't care and they quit. And so, you being involved in sports, and I heard you say that, but what do you say, or how do you deal with that? Because the way that I look at it is that here you are getting paid a lot of money.
Mm,
There's no way on God's green earth that you can take a play off because there's cameras on you every play. They look at every
mm.
play. And then when you're there in that position and that is what you do, how do you deal with that as a owner, as a coach when you see that? Because even though you can have a bad game, there's a difference between having a bad game and looking like you just have quit.
Well, excuse me.
Hmm.
There's a number of dynamics that are going on in normally in those situations. Um, when teams underperform, or when they just go out and just don't perform, a lot of time you're looking back at coaches saying, "Okay, coach, did you prepare them? What was your preparation? How well? What kind of practices did you have? What's your game scheme like?" Because sometimes these guys at this level, they're so their IQs are high. They can look at this thing and say, "This is not going to help us win." They go out there and they kind of say, "Well, look, I'm beating my head against the wall because I can't make this happen." Now that's no excuse for giving up. And then when you got injuries involved and you're not focused, then it becomes you got to go internally and say, "Now listen, guys, my coach, did you prepare these guys to play ball? If you did give them the right preparation, then the common trend that you've heard, then the coach has lost the locker room. They're not respecting. They're not saying, "Well, I don't believe what you say. I'm not confident in what you say." And then sometimes you just got a lot of inexperienced ball players, and they look like they've given up. They just can't do any better. And I'm gonna be honest with you, because Cowboys is in somewhat of that. They got a number of injuries. You got guys out there just trying to do the best they can. They just can't do no better. They can't do no better. They're doing the best they can. So he said, "Well, it looked like he quit." He didn't quit. He's just doing the best he can, and that's not good enough. To that point, I say that's why he's not a starter, because what you just saw is not starter material. So it's a challenge on the coach. Now we got to sit down as a coaching staff and say, "Listen, guys, looking at film, breaking film down, going back, looking at that game, coming in, sitting saying, what the heck was that?" And trying to understand, is it mechanical? Is it the way we prepared? Is our our scheme was wrong? Or was the other team just that much better than we were? Or were we just not focused? If we were not focused, guess what? That's the coach's problem.
Oh,
Because that's where you're gonna put it back on the coach and say, "Well, it was your job to have them focused and ready to play."
but
And so,
uh,
so what do you do? What you do as a coach? In my mind, especially in football, I'm going to challenge my offensive units, my defensive units, and special teams. And if I don't see some change in practice, I'm changing my lineup. I'm changing my lineup. So, and to your point earlier, you're all professional people, so I don't have to explain to you why I changed my lineup, because I'm paying you to play and you're not playing. So guess what? I'm going a different direction. So the challenge now, here comes the sad part. This happens week after week after week. Now I'm just decision: do I get rid of my coach or do I trade my player? That's where your owners and your operational people, they come in and try to figure out. So you only got to find out, and it's a very complex. It sounds so simple, but you got to figure out what's wrong with us. Are we not focused? Or we have, because sometimes you got underlying issues, especially coming out of the locker room, that may be causing what you see on the field. It hasn't
Okay.
been addressed, and so so people are upset about something that nobody knows about, and it's very common that stuff like that stays in the locker room, but it shows up on the field.
Right. Well, I mean, again, I I guess the reason why I brought it up is because when you see what you see, and then you see the lack of effort, and you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand what's going on, because I mean, there's a difference between losing the game and looking like you just, like, hey,
Yeah.
s- hey,
And
to
now
I get
I'm
paid.
not going to. I won't defend them in that sense, but I will say that one of the things that they have gone through, because one of the things about the Cowboys is that the defense has been giving up an awful lot of points. Offense has been a little sporadic, but I mean, they do what I think they've done well enough to win if the defense can play good defense. Now, what does that say? Well, we need to reevaluate what's happening on the defensive side, but they got a lot of injuries. And those injuries are key players, and it's hard to replace key players. I will be honest. I'm not giving them an excuse, because as professionals, the next man up. But experience is hard to replace. So what they're trying to do now is saying, listen, do I need to go out and get another experienced lineman or linebacker, or do I need to trade somebody to get somebody, or are you guys gonna step up to the table? And the performance last week was, oh my God, it was hard to watch. We were just, it wasn't that they didn't look like they didn't want to play. They got outplayed.
Right.
Period. So you got to address that now and find out what's wrong with us. Is it, and what I would do if I'm in that situation, I'm having a team meeting. We're not talking football. I need to find out, guys, what's going on. Talk to me. Then and I would want my captains. Y'all have a meeting. I'm gonna meet with you. Then all of us gonna sit down and meet together. We got to
Well,
figure out what this is, because they got a game Sunday or tomorrow. My Cowboys play tomorrow.
all right. Who do they play?
Detroit, I think.
Who?
I can tell you. I think it's Detroit. They normally play on Thanksgiving Day.
Right.
Let me check real quick. I think we the late game tomorrow.
Is it Detroit?
I'm checking.
Yeah, because I know Detroit usually play on
No, it's not Detroit.
Thanksgiving.
We play. I mean, Detroit plays. Whoa, 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 whoa.
While you're looking it up, I'm going to ask you this question while you're looking that up.
Mm-hmm.
What you think of your boy Bald and his son playing? They actually, I'm sitting here looking, they're actually losing right now. The Thunder beat the Warriors tonight. They were up by at least by 24 at one point.
Mm-hmm.
West Westbrook
Yes.
and Kevin kind of, they wasn't going at it, but they kind of had the face to face and talking, and I don't think they were saying anything other than, hey, I'm coming to play tonight. But
And
the
and and I think you expect that. I mean, I would. I mean, they're competitors,
right, right,
and I think their separation was made to be a lot more than it was really. Could it have been handled differently? Probably so.
right.
But is it
Now,
newsworthy? I don't think
I
so.
I want to. We briefly kind of talked about the Kevin Durant, situation, but I would
Hmm.
like to do it another show just to ask you I mean, we kind of briefly talked about it, but I want to ask you your opinion on something that I don't think that a lot of people really talk about when it comes to Kevin Durant when he was there in Oklahoma. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I, I I like Kevin Durant. He's an exceptional ball player. But I would like to talk about that on another show.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cowboys are playing.
I couldn't find it, so obviously I'm looking for it now, and I can't find it. So I'm
Okay, okay.
sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Well, we're just about out of time, and just wanted to say, want you to have a very happy Thanksgiving,
Thank
and
you.
I'm so
Well,
happy that I'm able to catch up with you. I still want you to think about that book that that we were talking about earlier. Oh, I asked you about your boy Ball. He was, him and Trump and that whole thing going back and forth and all this other stuff and that mess. I mean, I'm not a father. You're a father.
Mhm.
But I know what it means to be 18 years old, and I know that when you're 18 years old, you do stupid stuff because people would point fingers at his son about what he did over in China. But
Mhm.
you know, as a father, when you're 18, 17, 18 years old, it's not even about what people think it's about. It's just about when you're 18, 19, you just do stupid stuff. You
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, because I mean, it could be something as stupid as one would challenge somebody to do something, and then they follow along with it, and then you thinking, of course, you're not going to get caught because you just do stupid stuff.
but in all reality, in my opinion, the news of the thing was you got three American college players that are over in a foreign country and they do some minor theft stuff.
Right,
That's news because that's news in the sense of that's irregularity. That's something out of the norm. And theft in China is a very serious thing.
right,
Now, if the government, that being the president, chooses to intervene to whatever level he intervened, we don't really know that. And that's the ball's point
right,
is that, and he was able to affect that release. The kids came on and said thank you to the government, to the president, da 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 da. Now, Ball says, uh, and here's the point that even the people who criticized him in an interview came back and said at the end, it's his right. He doesn't have to thank the president. If he chooses not to, it's a no story. It has no value. And that's where I fought the news media for following up on that. If he doesn't want to say thank you to the president, so what? That's his right as an individual. Now here he contends the fact the president hadn't done anything. He ain't done anything for me. And part of what he's saying is those were Americans, and he's the president of the United States of America. Why wouldn't he intervene and get them out? Why didn't he put them on Air Force One and bring them back home with him? He had a valid point, but I don't think the situation is newsworthy. I don't think Trump's Twitter and in response to that, nor Ball's conversation is newsworthy.
well,
It's a non-story to me,
yeah, I
and they
mean,
want to make more out of it
right.
than it
Right. I
really
mean,
is.
it's the whole thing. It's just, I
It's a
mean,
joke.
we can. I would like to get your opinion on him on another show in reference to because now he's talking
I can
about.
already tell you what my opinion is. I can already tell you. We don't have to do another story. I think knucklehead. I mean,
Cause he,
I'll be
cause,
honest with you.
cause he's already on your boy Walton as a coach, talking about he's not coaching his son. He's not on his son hard enough and all this other stuff and
That's why it's hard to take him seriously when you have situations like that. The man just doesn't know when to be quiet. You got a reality show. You got the publicity that you want. You got your son to the Lakers. You got a contract. They're made in the face. Well, just go home and play with the wife. Take care of these other two boys. You guys stop making a fool out of yourself. Because in my opinion, the young man is a very he's a good ball player, but he's not all that they've made him out to be. I just don't see that. I see
right,
him as being a good marginal ball player, a good average NBA player right now. He does some things well, and he passes the ball well. I love his passing. He rebounds very well, and all of that. But he's not that at this point, that marquee player that they sold him out to be, it's a rookie. I mean, they don't come out every year. They don't come out. He's not a Magic Johnson coming to the team. He's not a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming to the team. So I just think it's overhyped to start with, and then they just gave Ball a platform.
Right. Right.
And I can't believe they did that.
Well, I'm to me, I'm not looking at him now. I'm trying to vision what he's going to be 2 years from now, like his third year into the league, because right now he's really struggling. Like you said, he's not that ball player as they made him out to be. I mean, he's just not. He's just not that guy. But
He's not there yet. He may get
interesting to
there.
see, 2 or 3 years from now where he's going to be
Mm-hmm.
as far as his confidence in shooting the ball. Because right now he has no confidence in his shot. As a matter of fact, I hate his shot. I think I don't know. And what bothers me is with his son, with his father being who he is. I'm like, how you let him come up with that shot if you're working with your son? It's like, how did he develop that shot? It's just, I don't understand that. To me, it's just like, I mean, the fundamentals, all of it is like, how do you say, okay, I'm good with that? I don't know how you don't help him to develop his shot and so on and so forth.
I,
But that's a
I,
whole nother story.
you aren't kidding. That's another story because that just goes to validate that this is all a hype campaign, and you have to give me credit. He was able to pull it off. Got drafted to the Lakers. Magic bought, and I'm not believing Magic bought it. I think Magic needed that because they need to hang the future of the franchise someplace.
Right.
And they picked him. Okay, good call on your part if that's what you want to do. But let's don't just try to sell all the Laker Nation that this is the answer to all our problems. It's not, because as you indicated, some of those other ball players are far exceeding his performance. Now, what if they just want him to be a facilitator? He's not doing a bad job. He's not doing a bad job. But if you want him to be the savior of the team, not happening.
Oh, all right.
Not happening.
Well, I'm going to say I want you to have a very happy Thanksgiving. You say you're going to sit and chill and watch some games.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
PK tournament basketball tomorrow. We got some NFL football on tomorrow. And I got some sleep time.
Okay. All right. Well, want to say I was thinking about you yesterday, wondering when you're going to be back here in Central Florida. When you're going to come back to Florida? When you're going to take a trip back?
Probably not till May. I won't be back until May because we will have basketball up until about March if all goes well. Then the school is not out until early May.
Okay.
And then I'll be out, and then I'm coming down to Florida for a couple of months, I think, and then I'm coming back.
Well, I know when you came here a few weeks ago, we almost kept you here, so we gonna work on it.
Yeah, you had people on this and one said, "Well, when you coming back?" I said, "I don't know. I'm trying to get back to now. I can't get out from down here." It's always nice to be back in Central Florida. I got to be honest with you. While I enjoy where I am, believe me, but that's home, and it feels real comfortable when I get there. So it's always nice to be back and see so many faces. But then I miss here. So
Okay.
right about now, this is pretty.
What's the weather like now?
Yeah, it's 27 right now.
Oh,
Yeah, 27 tonight.
Ooh, 20.
The high today was 47.
Okay, so it's 27 right now, and the high today was 47. All right.
And tomorrow is
Uh,
it'll be about in the 50s somewhere. If you got 100 tonight,
yeah. Well, I don't. Let me see if I can find out what the temperature is right now. Let me see what we got here. Oh man, it's on a commercial. Hold on, I got one more chance. Hold on, wait a minute. It's 73 degrees.
yeah, isn't that something? 73. Now let me show you right now. Yeah, we're 27.
Oh, 27, 73. Which one would you choose?
73. But I've learned to be able to deal with 27, so I'm getting there.
All right. Again, have yourself a happy Thanksgiving. Hope your
Thank you.
Cowboys win tomorrow. A lot of people
I,
saying that they probably won't make the playoffs. I don't know,
I'm
but
starting to doubt that, but I'm starting to doubt it. But I just want us to be competitive. We be competitive. I can live with it.
right, yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so very much, and do enjoy your Thanksgiving.
You do the same, and I'm looking forward to us getting together again soon.
Well, hopefully it's next Wednesday.
That's what I'm betting on. I'm betting on next Wednesday. And to all of our followers, wish you happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Thanks, Vince.
Okay.
Well, that's Vince Carter, and I'm always so appreciative when I can catch up with Vince because he's a very extremely busy guy, and it's always fun when he's able to come on the show. And I just want to say that have a very happy Thanksgiving. Call up somebody that you hadn't talked to in a while and say happy Thanksgiving, and don't eat so much. All right, and again, enjoy your day, and be prayerful and mindful. And I just want to say thank you for joining us here on Youth Central Sports.